Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Mike again with another solo pod. I got some interviews coming up probably soon. I just been working on some snafus with my setup, so I don't know. Once I get that straightened out, maybe I'll have a couple new interviews and stuff. But for now, this is going pretty good. I think it's working out for me really well, and it's really easy to do. So I'm glad I have these ideas for this book I'm hoping to put together. I'm going to be putting a book together if you're just joining the pod. Basically, with all these tactics and things I've been talking about, I think it would be really cool to do and really fun. So I figured why not? Each week I'm kind of working on a little bit of a chapter or a part of the book. So yeah, it's going to be sick. But on today's episode, I wanted to talk about defining your definition of success, or what's your definition of success? So why is it important to define your own level of success? Well, a lot of people have different ideas of what success means. And the biggest person that matters, though, out of anybody is yourself. So if you define your own level of success as something that works for you or makes sense to you, you never have to worry about what other people think of you or how you're succeeding or how other people perceive you. Because what they think really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's your life. You got to do what you want to do. You should be doing what you want to be doing, and nothing else really matters. And so that's something I really want to get into on this pod, because I used to have a really unhealthy definition of success for myself, and also one that was just very poorly defined. And I've since shifted that focus to just being able to show up is really my definition of success. As long as each week I can show up and spout something into the mic and come up with something and make a few videos. I'm just grateful that I'm able to do that, and I define that as success for me. Whether it's amazing content, bad content, whether I stumble and say weird shit or don't finish my sentences that greatly, doesn't matter. What matters is that I showed up, I did something, tried to make a difference, made a difference in my own life, and hopefully yours too, if you're listening to this and you find this stuff useful. So having a healthy definition of success for yourself is something that's really hard to do. I wouldn't say that it's easy to do, because the world that we live in, or the world that you live in, there's people have different ideas of what success means, and it's hard not to have those people influence your thoughts and the way you feel about yourself. But really what it comes down to is there's only two things that you can control in the world, and those are your thoughts and your actions. So if you can align those two things, you basically have a superpower over most people. Because a lot of people go around thinking they can influence other people or change the way other people think or change the things that people do. But another classic quote is, you can't control how people act, all you can control is how you react. Or don't, depending on the situation. So I don't know. It's just one of those things I've just been thinking a lot about. I've been watching a couple of videos of people online, and there's like inspirational videos, and there's people that have other definitions of success, and some of those I think are just unhealthy, personally. But we'll get into that in a minute. So that's why I think it's important to define your own level of success, because at the end of the day, you're the only person that you have to live with, essentially. So you better make sure that you're happy with the things you're doing, and that you love yourself and what you're up to, and that's really what it comes down to. So what are some bad ideas of success and bad ideas of goals? Well, money is a pretty bad one. Subscribers in today's world is a pretty bad one. Followers, a lot of the influencer content creation community runs off of, how many subscribers you got? We'll send you this thing if you have, X number of subscribers. That's become the new currency, right? But I would argue that money and that type of currency, subscribers, is one of the worst ways to define your success. And here's why. Because the amount of money that you make and the amount of subscribers that you have are things that are out of your control. Yeah, there's things you can do to make those values higher. At the end of the day, they're just numbers, and if you're just chasing numbers, you're never going to be happy. It really comes down to you need to have a passion and a love for what you're doing, because otherwise you just won't do it. The money and the amount of people following you won't matter if you don't give a shit about the things that you're doing. And again, back to the issue of control and action. You can't control how many subscribers, how many people like your shit. You can't control how many people follow you. You can't control how much money you make to a certain degree. And it really comes down to what you can control is what's important. And that's where the definition of success should come in, or you would want it to come in. Because, like I said, you can't control, like on the channel, on the podcast, I can't control how many people like the things I'm doing, how many people comment, how many people subscribe. What I can control is showing up. There it is again. And just putting videos out. What I can control is, hey, maybe this month, the next couple months, I'll put out a video every day for a week, or every weekday, right? So, shifting the focus on from what you want to what you can actually do is, I think, the most important key to defining your own success, because that is really where the key is. And I don't know, just where you can really find, I think, happiness in the things that you're doing. Because, like I said, I just love making videos at this point. I was telling Jay this the other day on the diner stream, or after the diner stream, we did a live stream where we went down to the Suburban Diner in Paramus, New Jersey, as like a fun, different kind of stream. One of Jay's favorite spots. So, and I was telling him, like, kind of like my new goals are just, I just want to make videos. I just fucking love making videos. It's something I've always enjoyed doing, and something I never really realized that I enjoyed so much. So, but that's the whole thing, right? So it's like I can control the amount of content I put out, but I can't control who's watching it. I can't control who's gonna hit subscribe, and I can't control, those kind of factors that are out of my control are not great ways to define my success. Like saying I'm gonna have 1 million subscribers or I'll be unhappy for the rest of my life. Is really the worst goal and the worst way I could ever define my success, because it's out of my control. So bringing that control back to what you can actually take action on is, I don't know, a really good place to start when you define your own success. And that's why having simple goals of success, showing up, for instance, to me, like I said, that's my new baseline. As long as I show up, I think I'm successful. As long as I show up each week and do a ramble and a rant into this microphone on some thoughts I had during the week. As long as I make a video about something that's fun to me and interesting to me and has something to do with recording and potentially help somebody else out or something to do with music, like, that's the success. Whether one person watches it, whether 100 people watch it, whether 1 million people watch it, it doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that I just executed on what I wanted to do. Well, all right, comes back to do something you want to do today. Which we're definitely going to end this one with a quote from somebody about that exact thing. So stick around for that. So the next thing I wanted to make a point about is, along with this, you got to run your own race, not somebody else's. Again, so many people have so many different ideas of success in today's world, and so many people don't even know what their ideas of success are. So to be influenced by somebody else in your immediate circle of friends, family, coworkers, random people you meet on the street is just a bad way to go about it, because you never know what those people's ideas of success are. You don't know what their goals are, and anything that they say to you about what you're doing is, I think, 99% of the time a projection of their own insecurities and the things that they want to be doing or the ways that they think about it. And I think everybody just goes around projecting their own shit onto other people and projecting their own ideas onto other people. And unfortunately, if you lack self-confidence like myself, or you're insecure like myself, you can be very easily influenced by those people, because you say, oh shit, well, I like person X, and person X is doing this, and person X says that I'm stupid for doing this, or they don't understand why I'm doing this. Shit, maybe I should be more like person X. Well, I don't know, unless you really want to be like person X, like, fuck them. Like, don't run their race. And I don't mean to sound heated about it, because it's really just, I guess at the end of the day, pragmatic, I think is the word. It's like, everybody is doing their own thing. Everybody's running their own race. If people are running side by side with you, great. It's not a competition against other people. It's a competition against yourself. You know, so getting caught up in somebody else's race or somebody else's values or somebody else's goals or somebody else's definition of success is just a recipe for disaster. You could follow that person to the end of the earth, to the depths of hell, and when you're there and at the end of the journey, realize it's not even something you wanted to fucking do, and you just weren't, secure enough, or you didn't lack the self-awareness or the confidence to go your own way, Gotta go your own way. Little Fleetwood Mac there for you. Um, yeah, so and that leads into the next point I was saying. So the importance of what you actually want trumps all, and it's also the hardest to define and defend. It took me a long time to defend or to define what it is I wanted to do. I talk a lot about that, of spinning my wheels for many years and getting very depressed and very down on myself, and you know that shit is real, and it's, I don't know, for me it took me a very long time, and I feel like it's always a pivot too, and it's always a evolution, it's always a redefinition. It's a constant battle of every day reassessing what you're doing and what it is you want to be doing. And the reason I say it's the hardest to define and defend is because once you define it, like I said, there's these outside influences that if you're not confident enough in what you want, if you're not, if you're not secure enough about what you want, if you don't know what you want, it's hard enough to define what it is that you want, and then once you know what you want, to defend it against other people or other environmental factors or other things that will try to take it away from you or tell you it's dumb or tell you it's not worth it, etc. If it's your own definition of success and if it's what you do and you can walk confidently in the direction of your dreams, I think that's Henry David Thoreau, I'm not sure, then you should just fucking do it. But like I said, it's hard to define that, and if you lack self-awareness and confidence and you're insecure, then it's also going to be hard to defend that in terms of the grand scheme of interacting with other people in the world, interacting with other people on the internet, etc. So there's a big part of this is definitely confidence, like I said. Maybe that's a topic for another podcast. I don't know. I just kind of came across that. So one of the things I think is a very dangerous idea. I've seen other people talk about this, and maybe it made sense in a different kind of world, but in today's world, I think it's a very dangerous thing to say to some people, and that is, there is no plan B. I would argue that there's always a plan B. There's no one road to being successful. So if, going all in on something, like, yeah, I think that's great. But I think it's also great to be a well-rounded person, and I think it's also great to be accepting of something when sunk cost fallacy, when it's clearly something is not working right and you're banging your head against the wall expecting something different. The definition of insanity. Important to recognize those opportunities and those things and be able to pivot from them. There's always a plan B, especially in today's world. I mean, again, the internet, this podcast, you wouldn't have even heard of this podcast. You wouldn't know who I am. You wouldn't know what I'm talking about. I'd just be sitting in my room talking to myself like a mad person. There's so many different ways to do what you want to do today and succeed at what you want to do today if you're willing to put the work into it. The internet is the great democratizer, in that if you have an idea and you're willing to work hard enough and willing to find a niche and find the people that are into what you're doing, and you have a message that's worth spreading, and you have a product or a idea that you want to share with people, it's just up to you and up to your hard work, and there's nothing standing in your way other than an internet connection. And it's amazing what it's done for people, and myself included. A big part of my thing is I really don't want to work for other people anymore. I just can't do it, and I just want to start my own influence, start my own brand, start my own business, start my own podcast, start my own channel. Obviously, what I'm doing, and that's all stuff that's kind of come secondary to realizing once I started doing this. Well, hey, this is really cool, And to me, whether the money is there or not, it's like I said, it comes down to just showing up, and at least I'm putting these ideas out into the world, hopefully changing somebody else's life, hopefully inspiring other people to do the things that they want to do each and every day. Because I really think that that's the most important thing. That's kind of the thing I realized in my own life, you know. And I think to say to people, there's no plan B, or you have to go all in or you won't succeed. Well, that's just your definition of success, you know. If your definition of success is, I think in an older type of system where there was more than, or there was like singular ways of achieving something, or certain ways that things had to be done to achieve what you wanted to achieve. Okay, maybe you could say there's no plan B. Like, you got to really be gung ho and go into it. But there's so many things you can do, and so many different roads that people take to success, and whatever their definition of success is. To say that you have to always be going all in, balls to the wall, 100 miles per hour, 88 miles per hour to shift into the future, go back to the future. Like, I don't know. I think that's just fucking dangerous, and I think that because I used to kind of have that mentality, and all it did was lead me to some dark, depressing places that I don't want to ever go again. And yeah, so there's always a plan B. There's always another road to success. People are creating new jobs and new ways of living all the time in today's world, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. So I would say, again, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Figure something out that you want to do. Try out some things, experiment. If those don't work, try some other ones, That's really the best thing to do. I just want to make sure my computer's recording, because I just had this terrible feeling that I didn't hit record, which it would be fine because I have the backup audio going. But anyway, there you go. There's always a plan B. I got the backup audio going. So whatever. I don't know. I just think that that's a dangerous, to say that kind of shit to people. I don't know. That's not the way it is anymore. There's so many ways of doing things that you want to do, and so many ways of defining your own success that, it really just comes that really just shows more again about the person saying that than the actual philosophy of doing that. Which kind of leads me into my next point. Just kind of a more of a side note. No one knows the pressure you put on yourself. There's certain pressures I put on myself. There's certain pressures everybody puts on yourself. I'm sure there's certain things you put on yourself. Nobody hears your internal monologue. Nobody knows the ways that you're kicking the shit out of yourself in your own head. Nobody knows the types of pressures you put on yourself in your day-to-day. So just as a side note, be easy, my friends. Go easy on yourself. And love yourself. It really comes down to you enter the world alone and you leave the world alone, and everything else in between is kind of a distraction from that. And I think a lot of things are a distraction from the inherent loneliness of human existence. Oh man, we're hitting some deep dark spots here, but self-work I think is important, and along with that is not beating the shit out of yourself and not putting a crazy amount of pressure on yourself, and just going through life with, like I was saying in the video, a sense of adventure and a sense of experimentation and a sense of, not looking at things as failures, just experiments, everything as an experiment. And again, leading into the next and probably final thought here is be grateful, my friends. Be grateful for what you got. Try to wake up every day now being grateful for the things that I have. Because like I said, you can't control what you want. I mean, well, you can control your thoughts and your actions in the direction of what you want. But, I'm just grateful. Rather than the whole other thing with the capitalistic society we live in is chasing the carrot. Is being the fucking donkey chasing the carrot. Always wanting more, always wanting something else. Never being content with what you have. And I think if you look around, and you live as somebody in a first world country, you win the fucking lottery, bro. Out of all the people in the world and all the places you could have been born, just look around and revel in the things that you have, and just be grateful. I think is really what it comes down to. Be grateful that you wake up every day, that you got, the freedom to do the things that you want to do. You have running water, that you have a roof over your head. There's some people that don't have that, and especially this time of year. I saw somebody yesterday, a homeless person, and it's got to be tough out there. It's really cold, and you know, we always want more, but which I think we need to realize is that we got more than enough. I think a lot of us. So, and last thing too is I actually thought this was a Benjamin Franklin quote. Turns out it's a Bob Dylan quote from when he was, uh, I guess when he got hurt. He was up in Woodstock at one point, I think, working with the band. Crashed his motorcycle and was laid up. I guess I forgot the interviewer's name. Came to see him and he talked a little bit about his record contract. For some reason, I thought this was Ben Franklin, but it turns out it's Bob Dylan, which I guess works as well, especially in the context of a music-oriented, centric channel podcast. A man is a man is a success if he gets up in the morning and gets to bed at night, and in between he does what he wants to do. I think that's really all it comes down to, making sure each and every day that you do something you want to do. And if you can define your success by the things that you want to do and going after them and achieving them, whether it's something really small or something really large, and working on steps to get to those places, whether or not the money is there, whether or not the accolades are there, whether or not the subscribers, the followers on your Instagram are there, you are a success, my friend, for doing the things that you want to do from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. Godspeed, my friends, and as always, make sure you do something you want to do today, all right?